Illinois Stories is brought to you by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, Illinois Arts Council Agency, and by the support of viewers like you. Thank you.
Hello, welcome to Illinois Stories. I'm Mark McDonald at Springfield's Abraham Lincoln Capital Airport. There are many hangars out here at the airport, but there's only one hangar that has a one-man museum in it, and I'm standing in front of the star of the show here, the original 1963 split window Corvette. Gene Benninga, you've had this car since it came off the showroom floor. It's 50-some years ago.
54.
And what's miraculous about this car, there's a lot of Corvettes, but this Corvette is in a precisely original condition. All of the parts, the paint, everything is original. And like your man at the Bloomington Gold Corvette show says, it's only original once, right?
Correct, correct.
It's your pride, isn't it?
Yeah, it's, when you have something this long and spend a lot of time in it, becomes part of the family.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know how else to say it.
Yeah.
Even though I've got a family.
You've got a family, and they love this too. Your wife is here today. We're going to talk to her, but she actually has a lot to do with the history of the car because she bought the darn thing, didn't she, with her teacher's salary?
Well, yeah, she claims that most of her salary went to that, but she did drive it to work every day for 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, yeah. What makes the split window Corvette so special?
That bar down the rear window. They did that out of the 6 years that they made this model of car, body style. They only did that bar once. And that was because an engineer, a design man, he didn't like that bar because it would interfere with his seeing out the rear window when he was racing. However, Bill Mitchell, who was the president of General Motors at the time, he said, no, that bar's staying. It follows a theme, if you'll see from the back all the way up to the very front of the car, the Stingray spine.
Aha. Okay, so that's what the Stingray spine. Okay, that's what it's modeled after, is the Stingray spine. And you can see it. It does. It takes a flow. It flows right up to the front of the car. And when you bought this in '63, were you just was your mindset, I'm going to get the split window? It had to be a split window, or did you? Oh, it did.
No,
okay.
Definitely split window, because they made 22,000 plus of the '63 Corvettes. About 10,500 were just the split window, the Corvette. They call it the coupe, and the other one was the Roadster. Convertible top, open top.
Yeah, and yours is even rarer than that because yours has an automatic transmission, of which there were only about 1,000.
Correct.
Right.
Correct. Everybody wanted a powerful racing, performance type car, big engine and a standard transmission and all that kind of thing.
Sure.
And I really didn't care about power and speed. I was more interested in the design.
Yeah.
I loved the body styles, but I fell in love with it.
Yeah, yeah. And you, of course, have kept it in immaculate condition. But a lot of times you see these older cars, and they're not. They have new paint jobs, or they have new this or new that because new looks nicer in a lot of cases, but for you, the real gem here is keeping it in original condition.
Correct. Everybody, a lot of people restore cars, and you have to protect your investment. Whatever you pay or buy a car for, dollar-wise, you have to paint it sometimes. You do repairs on it mechanically, so at the same time, you would normally paint it. This car's never been painted. In fact, never had major mechanical work done to it. It's just a totally original
80,000 miles. Would you go around that way? And I'm going to stay on this side of the car. Open the door for us, and we're going to open the hood here too.
Okay.
And we're going to get a look inside and out, and see all that we can see in the amount of time we have. Okay, we're going to open that.
You want this open?
Yeah, go ahead and pull it up there. Let's take a look.
This is the original 327 cubic inch engine, of which in 1963, General Motors put this same engine in all of their cars, the 22,000 cars. And what they did was there were 4 different options, and basically it was a carburetor or the carburation that made the difference in horsepower. So this is a 250 horse, basic Chevrolet engine.
Yeah. 327, 250 horse, but not fast.
Not real fast.
No.
Not this one's not real fast.
Yeah,
The
'cause
speedometer says 160, but it won't do 160.
No, but it's got an automatic transmission,
Yes,
which
that's why.
keeps it from getting off the line pretty
Right.
quick, right? I imagine once you get it up on the highway, though, it cruises pretty good.
Oh yeah, it cruises fine, and I think it gets probably about 30 miles to the gallon, which is nothing great.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Yeah, not bad.
Can you start it up for us?
Sure can.
Oh, sweet, sweet. You still drive it, don't you?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Not very often, but
yeah.
that's the hardest thing on a car, storing it. The seals get dry, and most automotive guys will tell you that,
Yeah.
and that kind of stuff, and it just,
So you want to drive it. You want to get it
yeah,
out every once in a
yeah,
while. Before you
right.
turn it off, don't turn it off yet.
oh, okay.
Yeah, leave it run just for a minute. While we're in there, while we're looking in there. Okay, well, we're looking at the engine now, so we'll watch that go for a little bit. You always did the repairs and the maintenance yourself?
Yes.
You didn't hire somebody done.
Yeah, I never had to do much major to it, and I kept track of all of those expenses from day one. Kept a little notebook, which I think
We've got that. I want to show that. We sure do. Here's your notebook, right?
And every time I had an expense, whatever it was, I wrote down the date, gas filter, 28,000 miles on March the 12th.
Year after year after year. And
Yep.
then when you'd go to a car show,
Yeah, I had it printed, and
you'd have this printed up
up.
so people, and that's the way you could convince, hey, look, this is the original. This is the original condition, and
Helps.
here's part of the proof.
makes the authenticity of the originality.
Yeah, yeah, interesting. Okay, now, I want you to, if you would, we're going to get the camera back behind you. Would you show us the radio and the transmission in there? Because the
Okay.
transmission is one of the rare things about the car.
The other thing that was unusual about this, Mark, was power windows and power. Very few Corvettes came out with power windows. You still have the workable power windows.
Yeah, do that again for us, will you? I'll be darned. Well, that was kind of ahead of its time,
Yeah.
wasn't it?
Yep. And the radio, now it's going to make noise because it's been set in a while. It's going to get static.
More detection, more protection.
You just push one of those bars and it goes to
Yeah.
a preset station.
It's called a Wonder Bar radio.
Uh-huh. Isn't that neat?
Not many stations out here,
Right, right.
and you're in a metal building.
And then I want to, while we're looking in the car, I want to show this too, Gene. This is how there was no back seat, of course,
Right.
and there's no trunk because there's no access from the back because it has a split window.
Right.
But this is your storage area back
That's
here.
the storage area.
Yep. And it's got quite a bit. It's
I
got
can't
quite a
pull it up
bit.
any further.
But it take a child to get back in there.
Yeah.
Almost.
And
yeah.
our children did ride back there, okay?
Is that
Until I
right?
grew up, yeah.
Oh, neat.
Shut it off.
Turn it off. Yeah, thank you.
But you notice how in the right, Mark, when you look in the door here, how this carved out into the top here a little
Yeah.
bit?
Uh-huh.
That was for better entrance in the car, because the car, of course, sets so low.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't have to bang your head and try and get in the car, so
Yeah.
that helped a lot.
It sure does. And it really makes it enhances the look of it too, because it's got that curve to it. Okay, people probably wonder, why am I carrying this Stetson hat around with this old black powder
powder?
gun? This was another trick of yours to be remembered at car shows, right?
This is what gets you People's Choice. In my opinion, the most coveted award at a car show.
Yeah.
The better car shows would charge people maybe to get into the car show,
Mm-hmm.
and then they would, at the end of the car show, they give you a ticket, say, okay, write the car number that you want to choose, that's your choice of the best car, People's Choice, that's your best car. So I would put this on, and people would get ready. They would get ready to check out with the car show, and I've seen individuals at car shows speak to their friend and say, which car are you going to vote for People's Choice? Remember the one with the guy with the hat or the black powder pistol on the front seat? So this is kind of like a marketing
You just
promotional
leave it
thing.
on the front seat, and
Yeah.
that gets their attention, doesn't it?
But people years later, I'll go to a car show and I don't have the car or not near the car. They'll see the hat. Oh, I remember you. You got that red car, don't you?
Well, it's red and it's beautiful. What were you going to point out?
This is the headlights. This is the headlights. Was another feature of the car. This car had independent rear suspension, and it also had retractable headlights.
Oh yeah, yeah,
This
I
is
remember
what makes
those.
this car unique.
Yeah,
One of the things.
those are
several
really
things.
neat. Those are really neat. Yep. And those were, ooh, boy, people would go ooh in 1963 when
yep.
they'd see that happen. Oh, it's beautiful. It is beautiful, and it's original.
Yeah, that's what's unique about it.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, it's been claimed in the National Corvette Restorers Society to be, they say, undisputably the most original 63 split window in existence.
Mm-hmm.
So, not that I'm wanting to sell it,
Yeah.
but it's a unique piece.
Well, let's just give me a ballpark. If you wanted to sell it, what do you think you could get for it?
Oh, I'm sure I could get 6 figures for it.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty easy. The thing that I would like to do is, if and when if I'm alive when it's sold, is impart onto somebody else all this collectible stuff over the years, 54 years of collecting. This ring right here, made by Balfour Ring Company, the high school class
Yeah,
rings kind of
yeah.
thing. When you buy this for $350, this is a solid gold ring, put your initials in it and the car number. The car number on this is 5893. So a lot of the things that I would buy over the years, I would say, I'll buy that if you can get that number on it. So some of the collectible things have 5893.
Right, right. And they got to stay with the car.
Oh yeah,
That's what
yeah.
makes them
It's
run,
got to stay
yeah.
with the car. I mean, to sell this ring is just another ring.
Yeah.
It's no big deal. Up here on the wall, these 3 plaques right here, Bloomington Gold Bronze, Bloomington Gold Silver, and Survivor. There's a 4th one, which I don't have, obviously. Nowadays, Bloomington Gold charges $1,500 to register your car, in my opinion, to tell me what I know I already have.
Right.
Car that's
The most original.
yeah, most original. And you'll notice on these, they'll say 90 to 94% original car. Authentic 63.
Well, you've got a lot of other stuff too. I mean, we could spend all day right
Yeah.
here, but you've got, this is an authentic museum. You're registered
Yes,
with the
it's registered
Secretary of
with the
State.
Secretary of State.
So there's some other things to see over here which authenticates the originality
Okay.
of your car. So let's go that way.
Okay.
If you had any doubts that this is a real museum, Gene, you know, we just walked by the counter here where you have all this memorabilia, plaques, tie pins, books on Corvettes, anything you want to know. But I wanted to bring you over here to start here because they even made a Stingray bicycle at one point, didn't
Yep.
they? How'd you come by this one?
Well, I kind of lucked out. I was teaching on auto body at the time, and the police department brought in a whole truckload of bicycles to give us the auto body shop at the school to repaint and then donate. And one of these, kind of wasn't as good a shape, was in that pile. And I asked the other instructor, I said, do you want that bicycle or what are you going to do with it? And he said, well, he says, I think I'll give it to paint it up and give it to one of my grandchildren. I said, okay. So when I got home then I thought, you know, I want one of those Stingrays for my museum. So I started to get on eBay and looking around and just happened to call a friend of mine who runs a bicycle shop in Chatham, or did.
Yeah.
And I said, you don't know where I could get one of these bicycles, do you? And he says, you know, he says, I think I may have one up in the storage place. So he went up and looked. He says, yeah, I used to have 2 of them. He says, I got
Wow.
one left. It's still in the box.
What a break. And it's red.
Yeah, it's red.
It's red. Look at this. This is cool. And these lights turn on and off. I'm not sure how you do it, but that's really kind of nifty. And then, boy, here. Now, Gene, we said your car is all original. You actually put some new wheels on it, but you have the old wheels and the hubcaps right here. At any point, you can put them back on, and you've got the 100% original automobile.
Original
again.
rims and,
Yeah.
and
And look how
hubcaps.
clean they are. Boy, you really do keep things clean. That's amazing. In fact, the story you told, every time when you would go out with your wife at night in the car, every time you came home, that car got washed.
Yep.
didn't it?
10:30,
Every time.
11 o'clock at night. Get rid of the bugs.
Get the bugs off it. Now, Gibson even made a 1963 split window Corvette guitar.
Yes.
Which is a pretty amazing tribute.
They did that for an individual who worked for General Motors named Larry Shinoda. He was of Oriental descent, and they hired him to design a guitar body that had the same configuration as the 63 Corvette split window.
Yep.
So they gave him an award, and they documented that, and I think this was one of just a few made, the guitar, and they also, up on the wall there, they gave him a nice award that he could take home. Yeah.
Okay.
And
now,
I was fortunate enough to buy those.
Now this is not the actual guitar. You have the guitar, but you don't like to keep it here because this is not climate controlled, and guitars are pretty finicky about that, aren't they?
Yeah, and as much money as I spent for it, the weather would deteriorate it significantly. But what I did was took a picture of it and imposed it into a decoupage.
Isn't that neat?
So
Very
that it
clever.
looks like the actual thing.
Very
but
clever.
It's got the case and everything.
And you would never know. That looks just like this. It's just, this
Exactly
is not the particular
like that,
body. Yeah.
It's a photograph.
Oh, boy. Okay, we've got some things to look at here. Gene, why don't you be our proprietor back there, if you would?
All right. Step behind the counter here.
Yeah. Here's a beautiful model right here of the very car we're talking about. It's kind of interesting. We're taken with this model, but the real thing's only 50 feet away over there. But it's amazing how many of these models and how many photographs the 63 split window just became iconic, didn't it?
Very, yeah, and that was all the authors and the publishers, when they wrote articles about the 63 split window. They made 22,063 cars. Of course, only 11 or 10, about 10,500 were split windows.
Yeah.
But the split window became, who knew?
Yeah, right.
If I'd have known that, I'd have bought 4 of them.
Yeah, that's right. And you had the good fortune of having these registered license plate. This was before we had what we now know as these personalized plates,
Yes,
right?
right.
But yours had Corvette, and it got you in trouble because it had too many letters on it.
Right. But as you'll notice in the envelope that came from the Secretary of State's office, that's the registration envelope that we always would rip open and of course then put the plate on the car and make it legal. But I
1976.
chose to keep that in there. But yeah, Illinois only has 7 places on their license plates. Never have had 8.
And so you actually got in trouble for that one time, didn't you?
Yes, yeah, I was driving down the street in Springfield over on the west side, and a policeman pulled me over and came up to the window and said, "Where did you get those plates?" First he asked for registration, so I showed him the envelope. And I said, "Well," I said, "I really don't want to tell you because I don't want to get somebody in trouble at the Secretary of State's office." And his comment was, he says, "He's not the one that's in trouble, you're the one that's in trouble." So anyway, he got persistent and was getting hot. Car doesn't have air conditioning, but I had my young daughter with me, and she's starting to cry, and finally he comes back to the car and he says, "I need to know where you got those plates." I said, "Well, if you must know," I said, "Howard Ryan got them for me." "Who's Howard Ryan?" So he walks back. I didn't answer him. He walked back to his car and he got on his radio and he came back. Howard Ryan at the time was Chief Justice of the Illinois Supreme Court.
He was a friend of yours?
From my hometown. Hometown of 700 people, you know everybody.
Yeah.
So he came back to the car and he says, "I want you to get that car off the street." He says, "Get those plates off there." So.
And you did.
No
You
ticket.
did.
No
You
ticket.
bugged out of there and counted your blessings,
Yep.
huh? Okay, let's move our way down here. Here's another beautiful look at why this car is so enamored. This is...
That's a publication that only 6 issues were ever printed. And of course, on the very first issue, and this is the very first issue, he decided to use the 63 split window as his centerfold. You know, there was a company that had centerfold magazines that we all know
Well,
about.
and this was part of it, wasn't it? I'm going to slide this in front.
Yeah, that came with
This
it.
was actually the centerfold before Playboy. That's probably where Playboy got the idea.
Could be, could be.
Isn't that gorgeous? And all these things are limited edition. I mean, there aren't many copies of
Well,
these
I don't know
things
how
here.
many he sold. I could
Yeah.
probably find that out. But yeah, you don't buy them nowadays unless somebody like me wants to sell them.
Exactly. What's this here?
This is the decoupaged plaque, just a cheap old wooden plaque that the first Bloomington Gold did. I think it was 1970, yeah, 73. But back before we had the stand-up trophies, plastic trophies, this was first place. And while first place for me, and I appreciate first place, but that was the judge's opinion. The best, in my opinion, the best award at a car show is People's Choice. That's where they vote on what car they like the best. And that's a more honest, and I have several, those I've kept. People's Choice Awards wherever they might be.
And that's why the hat and the gun, right? That keeps you keeps you memorable.
Hand me that book right there. This is another publication. There was only one of these. This was only the one that was ever published. But when I saw this ad, I wrote the publisher, and I'm an author or publisher anyway, and I said, I would like to have one of these, and I'll pay I think it was at that time $65, which was kind of pricey. I said, I'll buy one if you will, because they printed how many books they made and which number this book was. I said, if you'll do me 5893, I don't want just any book. That's the serial number of my car. So of course he did, and so now I can't get rid of it.
5893 is on a lot of these things. Gene, thank you for the visit. This has been terrific. This has been very interesting, and it's always really fun to find out what an original condition car looks like. We are here, as I said, Springfield, Abraham Lincoln's Capital Airport, in one of the hangars. This is a bona fide museum as certificated by the Secretary of State's office, and it is open to the public. Gene, what are those hours, or by appointment
Monday
only?
through Friday, I think 9 to 5 by appointment only. Because it's on the airport, we just can't get everybody in any time.
Sure, but by appointment. You might want to, we'll put the website and phone number up for you to call if you're interested in making an appointment to see this split window museum. Evelyn, you and Gene have had this car almost as long as you've had each other.
That's how I remember it's our anniversary. We got married in '63.
That's right, and this is a '63, so it's same year. That's that's a lot of years. Are we going to count? What do you Which anniversary are you celebrating coming up?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow? You're kidding. Which one will that be?
55, I think.
55. My math isn't very good.
Well,
okay. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Wow. Now, you mentioned to me earlier that you actually paid for this car. You bought this car.
Yes.
How did that?
We don't talk about that, though.
No, he's so proud of it. It's his, right?
Yes.
Yeah. But you paid for it.
Yes.
How did that happen?
Well, his dad loaned him the money, and then my first year of teaching at Chiddix in Normal, Illinois, my salary was what he paid for it. So I paid his dad back then by the month because...
Is that right?
Yeah.
And you could get, in 1963, you could get this split window Corvette for $5,000. That's what you were making as a first year teacher? $5,000?
A little less than $5,000.
Remarkable.
So,
so wasn't it kind of nice to know that where your money was going? I mean, it was going directly toward this car.
But it was a car. It wasn't the house, or it wasn't...
No, but I mean, you knew Gene too, right? So I mean, you knew, well, you know...
I knew what I was up against,
you knew
yes.
you were getting into. You all, for many years, this was your only car, wasn't it?
Yes.
And then you drove it everywhere.
Yes, to school.
To school? Oh, you took it to school? Oh man, I'll bet you were an item.
It did, well, junior high kids, you know.
Yeah.
So, and then when I taught high school kids, yes, it made me cool at the time, you know, for a little while.
You're still cool. Do you ever drive it? Do you still drive it? No. Gene does, though, doesn't he?
He does, yeah. He
But you don't drive it anymore?
No.
Do y'all go places in it?
We did a couple times, but, you know, it's not easy to ride and park it or you know, do something like that. So.
And you're so you have to be so careful.
Yes,
with it.
yes.
Where can we leave it? You don't want to leave it outside the back. But you took some pretty interesting trips in it too, didn't you? You went to New York one time to the World's Fair.
Right. And camping, we took everything. We took our tent and stove and everything in the back. So.
You must have little stuff.
Filled it full.
Well,
we were young.
It was your only car for a long time,
Yes.
right? Yeah. So you used it. It was your car. Used it the way anybody uses any
Right.
car.
Right.
Yeah.
Just we're very careful, and we parked it out in the back 40 when you went someplace. You know, you didn't park it near another car, and still, he still does that. So.
Yeah. So what's it like being married to a guy who like has a museum and just does these buggy things.
I can't talk about that now.
Not the day before your anniversary,
no,
right?
No.
Okay. Evelyn, thank
No,
you.
thank you.
Okay. With another Illinois story in Springfield, I'm Mark McDonald. Thanks for watching.
Illinois Stories is brought to you by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, Illinois Arts Council Agency, and by the support of viewers like you. Thank you. For a DVD copy of the program you've just seen, send 1995 to P.O. Box 6248, Springfield, Illinois 62708. Be sure to include the program name, subject, and when the program aired. You can also order with your credit card by calling 800-232-3605.